This video is about to get very surgical.
Everybody a thug till them lights pull up, and everybody got a gun until ICE pull up. A middle finger to the president, cause I ain't too impressed. How the fuck you kicking niggas out? Ain't you niggas guess? So it's death to an ICE truck driver. You shouldn't be.
What's good, y'all? What's the word, man? It's been a little minute, but we back to business. You feel what I'm saying? For everybody that got to see my post, you'll see why I ain't really been this active. But Jay-Z just came outside. Okay, and based on the last interview that he did, I was very excited to see what he had to say, because even if the things that he's saying I don't agree with all the time or whatever, it's very insightful and it creates great conversation. And it's the perfect time for somebody like me too, because I'm just now starting to really do my due diligence on Jay-Z's work that was coming out prior to me being born. There's a whole lot of legends that I went and studied and listened to from the 90s because I wasn't alive for that, right? But Jay-Z was one that I never really took the time to really go do outside of hearing him and bypassing. I've heard plenty of Jay-Z's music. There's a lot of songs I'm hearing on these albums now that I've already heard, but y'all know there's a difference between hearing something and listening, right? My ears always were just hearing Jay-Z, never really listening. So going back as an adult and doing my due diligence on his work has been a crazy experience. Reasonable Doubt, Volume 1, Volume 2. All of these reactions are coming out on my Patreon, so y'all make sure to go check that out. And I'll be dropping them on members only, and then they hit the public. If you ain't seen the Reasonable Doubt one yet, go check that out. That one's, I think people love that one too. But it also adds a different layer to the context around the things that Jay-Z talks about in these interviews. You see what I'm saying? And it's perfect timing for me. Okay, so that's why I'm excited to go through this clip and really just break this down. There's a whole lot of people who have a lot of commentary on this. Some people are spinning it out of context, in my opinion. And we're going to break this down right now. I know that it ain't, I know it's deeper than what people are trying to make it seem out to be. So let's check this out, man. Let's see what Jay-Z talking about.
I tell people all the time, never fight against the future. The future's coming. Artists, they were trying to recreate something that was already done, but they're not connected to it like that. They're not living it and breathing it. They were fighting against gravity as opposed to telling their story. We needed that other side. We needed to hear about what happens when you've had 4 successful albums. What happens? What is that feeling like?
Right.
How do you make the next one? How did you get in the studio? Mm-hmm. How are your kids? How do you interact with them as this hip hop dad? But if you're trying to make young music and you're not young, it's gonna be inauthentic.
Now the thing is, a lot of people heard this, I feel like, and was like, oh, he's saying people can't make young music and hip hop, boom, boom. What about rock and roll? I don't really think that's the context behind what he was saying altogether. I think what Jay-Z is saying here is, we want to know about you at this point in your life, right? And I think the funny thing is I think Jay-Z at times was, a victim of this in some ways here and there. But for the most part, especially going back on Jay-Z's work, he's always done the very thing that he's talking about right here. He always gave you checkpoints on where he's at in life, in the music industry, his perspective on how people viewing the things, etc. Even when he went past his so-called prime, right? Even when, I seen somebody say, I think it was DJ Academics was saying something along the lines, how could Jay-Z say this and he got songs like Forever Young? Well, that's the thing. Like, that song wasn't just about being young. That song was about aging gracefully. You feel what I'm saying? Being forever young is just aging gracefully. It's just tapping into that inner child, tapping into that inner creativity. Like, that song wasn't just about being young. It was about being timeless. And he's still reiterating that same narrative in this interview. So it's not like Jay-Z isn't doing the very thing that he's talking about, because he does, right? I think there's credence to this. I don't want to hear a 40-year-old rapper, right, talking about the same things they was talking about when they was 25. You feel what I'm saying? I think Drake is a big example of this, right? Drake, really, if you being honest, Drake's music got less mature the older that he got. How the fuck did that happen? The older that Drake got, the less mature his music got. And Drake's not the only one. Young Thug's music has never really shifted, never really gotten deeper, never really got more introspective. You feel what I'm saying? And this is probably why when he first came out, I was liking Barter 6 and all this stuff, but as time went on, it didn't work no more. Who else? Just like a lot of guys of that pocket, and y'all know who I'm talking about, just don't understand that if they just aged with the music, their music would naturally transform. You wouldn't even need to necessarily go create a new sound. Just the context and the topics of what we're talking about would change and therefore give you new music and a new energy, right? You're supposed to grow with the audience that came in with you, and then you kind of transfer into the audience that was already there prior to you. You see what I'm saying? And I don't think it takes an expert to understand that. That's just human nature. It's human logic. So Jay-Z is giving a great, I think, for example, even like a Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar making a Mr. Morale at the time that he made Mr. Morale is perfect for that time in his career. He's in his 30s. He's had all the success. He's had all the girls. He's had all the things. He's done all the different things. But then he gets to break down what it's like to be at that point in your career and still have to shed. Right? And that tells so much of a story for so many people out there. It teaches so many people. Jay-Z with 444. You got Beyonce. You got all the money. You're a billionaire. You all these different things. You got billions. You're about to work with the NFL. 444 comes out and it gives you the context of somebody who's experiencing all this stuff and made it work through the spiritual journey, shedding, being honest, vulnerability, being real about who he is, responding to Beyonce and that whole time frame of everything that was going on. You feel what I'm saying? So when you look at it from that perspective, it's like, I don't think there's anything wrong with Jay-Z is saying here. And the reality, you can see the difference in the people whose music, and not just the first week numbers. Like, we got to get over that. That isn't indicative of the ability of the connection of the music. You can sell as much as you want in the first week. If the music don't connect, it's like, why does what? Oh, we just talking about the hype that was built for the album? What about the longevity of the music? What about the lessons that are being taught? What about advancing humanity, advancing society, advancing people's perspectives, changing people's minds? What about that? And this is the thing that music, in my perspective, is supposed to be here for. Now, you got the parties and all the different stuff and dancing and all that, and that's fine. That's a part of the music too. I think it's a part of hip-hop too, dancing, party, and all that different stuff. That's still hip-hop. The problem is when that's the only thing that's going on, and you can't be 40 and that's the only thing you're talking about. Fucking at the parties, the orgies and the and I just did this with this girl and I'm taking this drug and all that. It's like, my nigga, you're 40. We it's time to come on, bro. Let's go down a different route. You feel what I'm saying? Let's age appropriately. You know what I mean? And I know that everybody has a different environment. Everybody has a different come up. So everybody don't age the same. Some people didn't have the influences necessary to walk them in the right direction. But it's all about the effort, recognizing it, the awareness, and making an attempt to make a change in your personal life. But I think what Jay-Z is saying here is on point.
People could feel that. You could smell it. So the best thing that anyone can do, like going through music, is to tell a story, and just keep creating from that space. I love what the Clips are doing right now, and how it's authentic to them, and they're telling the story about their mom and dad who just passed away, and how deep that is. With John Legend singing on the chorus, and everything that they've been through is an authentic display, a piece of classic material that. It could have came out 96 or come out 2026.
Right. And I think that's the difference. Like, when we're talking about classic, and I think that's one thing that we got to really talk about too. Like, could this project, this art, whatever is coming out, could it have dropped in any era and still been what it is? Like, that's my whole thing. Like, a lot of the music that's coming out right now, if you drop it in the 90s, if you drop it in the 80s, it's like, what the fuck? Like, you feel what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that great albums wouldn't experience that either. There's a lot of great albums that will also experience that. But the conversation around the album will be the sound and not necessarily the context of what's being said. there's no cautionary tales coming out no more. People aren't giving these cautionary tales of yeah, I do a lot of drugs and I do a lot of this and I do a lot of that, but here are the consequences. We don't get that. We don't get that a lot. And I think when we talking about Clips and the Birds Don't Sing, which is perfect. You know, people call them coke rappers and they're doing all the different stuff. But in the Birds Don't Sing, you hear about the consequences of the decisions that they made and the things that they had to pay for, the things their family had to pay for, the things that their father had to pay for finding the drugs, and all these different things, these consequences of that lifestyle. Right? So it's not just a glorification. It's not just, Kendrick said it perfect on Watch the Party Die. If you parade in gluttony without giving truth to the youth, the graveyard is company to tell us what casket to choose. So it's not that people can't rap about what they're living. If you're living the drugs, the fashion, the party, the orgy, the sex, all the different stuff, and that's what you live in, please talk about it. But can we get the other end of that? Because there's no way that's all you living and there's no consequences you paying for that. You're a fucking liar. And I think that's really what it is. Like, you're lying. If you are trying to pretend like this lifestyle that you live in is just glory, it's just the glory of it, and there's nothing bad or there's no negativity that's coming from that, there's no this and boom boom, you're a fucking liar. And you're doing a disservice to the people who are listening to you. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. And I think to tell the truth, you tell your story. If you're telling your story of who you are at 35, who you are at 38, who you are at 39, there's a good and bad that comes with that story, which automatically makes people reflect, automatically gains perspective, automatically pushes humanity, whoever is listening to that, into a reflective state, which is better for mankind, and I think is the purpose of music. So it is to get you to move. It is to get you to have fun. It is all of that too. But what about the other side? All you got to do is tell your story. And if you're not telling your story in the music, what's the problem? Is the music industry not allowing you to do that? Is that not allowed? Are you supposed to stay young because of the music industry? Or are you afraid of telling your story? Either way, there has to be an adjustment to be made in order to maintain the integrity of the music, in order to maintain the prevalence of the music. Right? There's a lot of artists who have an opportunity to do something different. And I think that's really what this thing is coming down to. So from my perspective, I'm rocking what Jay-Z had to say here. I think it's great perspective. And yeah, we back in business, man. A lot more videos coming soon. We got more videos with the jazz music in the background and all that different stuff. You feel me? I got some great ideas I'm looking to share with y'all. I got so much more creative free time. And I do want to put more emphasis on making sure that y'all walk away with perspective, not just giving y'all criticism all day, like, you know what I'm saying? And because I know that y'all getting used to that on my page, the criticism. But in reality, what can I do with these conversations to also, with my content, not just my music, but with my content, allow reflection and allow perspective and allow something that is pushing towards the development of the people who are listening to me. Not saying any of y'all need development, but just something to ponder on, just something to think about. And that's where I'm really leaning to in my content from here on out. Just focusing on, you know, of course we gotta criticize. We gotta and that's because some things gotta be criticized because there's a battle for the stake of hip hop currently. So there has to be criticism here in order to fight for this. But it could be done with more taste. It could be done with more reflection. And it could be done with more perspective so that people are walking away with some that they can really keep and hold dear. But that's all I really had to say. Appreciate y'all. Like, comment, subscribe, especially if you're new here, especially if you've been here. Tapping with the Patreon for the Jay-Z reactions. I'm dropping 2 this week. So because I wasn't really around for the last week. And yeah, if y'all some sports heads, tap in with my Twitch. You feel what I'm saying? We stream talking about the NBA playoffs Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, every single morning. Shout out to my people that's been in there every single day. My boy Oakland Ja, Uja was in there the other day. You feel what I'm saying? So appreciate y'all, man. Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good day. All right.